Hey guys, hope you're all well and welcome to Kenwood Kids Club. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a pesto, tomato and mozzarella focaccia. Hope you enjoy. So the ingredients you will need are 350 milliliters of warm water. You'll need 10 grams of fast action dried yeast, 6 grams of table salt, 30 milliliters of olive oil, and 450 grams of all-purpose flour or bread flour. You can use either one. So let's get started. So in a large mixing bowl, you want to pour in your flour. You want to add your yeast on one side of the bowl and your salt on the other side of the bowl. And for this recipe, we're going to use our hands. So with clean hands, you just want to mix that all together. The reason why you don't want to put the yeast and the salt on the same side is because salt can actually deactivate your yeast, making your bread not rise. Now, you want to slowly stream in your water, mixing while you stream it in. Be sure to add it a little bit at a time, just to make sure you don't overhydrate your dough. Now don't be worried if your dough is quite sticky. This is how it's actually meant to be because this dough is actually a high hydration dough. Now pour in your oil and give it a mix until it's all incorporated. Now your dough should look something like this, quite sticky, and be sure to not add any more flour because this is how it's meant to be. You want to drizzle over some olive oil and you want to coat the dough in the olive oil, just so that it doesn't stick while proving. And you want to cover it with some plastic wrap. Now you want to leave your dough to prove in a warm area for half an hour. So now our dough has almost doubled in size, and we're going to perform something called stretch and fold, which is a way of developing gluten in the dough without actually kneading it. So the dough should look something like this, risen nicely. And to do a stretch and fold, you want to wet your hands slightly so that the dough doesn't stick to your hands. And you want to pull up one side of the dough, like this, and fold it over. Rotate it, pull up, and fold it over. And you want to do this with each 4 kind of sides of the dough. And as you can see, the dough has semi-deflated, and you want to do this 4 times each half an hour. So we're going to let it rest for another half an hour and come back and then do this again. So now it's time for our final stretch and fold. I'm going to wet my hands as I did before. And I'm just going to demonstrate it one more time. Fold over. Fold over. And our last stretch and fold. So now that we've done our final stretch and fold, you should have completed 4 sets of stretch and folds in 2 hours. So a stretch and fold every half an hour, prove, stretch and fold, prove, stretch and fold, so on. So you should be left with a dough like this. Now our dough has risen for 20 minutes. We have a dish like this, roughly this size is great. You can even use a round dish if you want. You want to drizzle a bit of olive oil in there. About that much, not too much, but enough to coat it. And you want to pour your bread dough into the dish. So spread it out just like this, and it shouldn't be too sticky at this stage. If it is, just pour a tiny bit of olive oil over the top. Now if it doesn't get all the way to the corners, don't worry about that too much because when we prove it, it will expand. Now you want to leave this to rise for 45 minutes in a warm area so that it's ready for baking. So our focaccia has nearly finished proving, so we're now going to start the toppings. So here I have about 10 cherry tomatoes that I've chopped in half. I have about 3 large sun-dried tomatoes, and And I have some mozzarella that has some pesto over it. My mozzarella balls came with pesto, but if you don't have that, you can buy separate mozzarella and pesto and mix it together. So we're going to start off by putting a pinch of salt on top of our tomatoes. I have 1 teaspoon of mixed herbs that we'll just put on top. And I have a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of paprika that we're going to pour over as well. And you just want to mix that all together. So here we have our focaccia that's finished proving, and we're now going to start putting on the toppings. So first, you want to mix together 1.5 tablespoons of water and 2 tablespoons, 1 teaspoon of olive oil. Piece of the plastic wrap and put a bit of the oil and water mixture on your fingertips and start dimpling the dough just like this. Now don't be afraid to go too deep because you really can't go too deep, it'll always spring back. I'm going to do 2 sets of dimples, but be sure to not put too many because that could knock out a lot of the air in your bread. So we're going to start off by putting the tomatoes on first, just roughly dotted around. Now we've placed on all our tomatoes, we're going to go in with the mozzarella and pesto. And you can just be creative with it really. Dot it around where you feel it looks best. I'm just actually going to pour some of the oil from the pesto into the actual oil mix just to add a bit more flavour to the focaccia, which will be really nice. And now we're going to go in with our sun-dried tomatoes and just dot that around. You want to kind of press these deep into the dough because sun-dried tomatoes can burn easily. And this just adds another type of tomato flavour to it, as normal tomatoes and sun-dried tomatoes do have slightly different tastes. And now I'm going to pour on that oil mixture. Now that we've poured on our olive oil mixture, I'm going to go in with some sea salt and sprinkle that lightly on top. A few pinches. And I'm going to go in with some rosemary as well. Now we're going to bake this in an oven preheated to 180 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes until it's slightly golden on top, and when you tap it, it sounds hollow. So now our focaccia is baked and it should look something like this. It looks so pretty, and I've just taken it out of the oven and put it on this board. I'll pick it up so you guys can see it. And I'm just going to cut it open so you guys can see the interior. You can hear the lovely crustiness of the bread. Focaccia is one of my favourite breads ever. And it just looks so beautiful and spongy. You can see the lovely air bubbles. And this is how you make focaccia. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please make this. Please like and subscribe, and hope you enjoyed.